Hi, there was no second thought when I decided to record this video because the more I think whether to do this or not, the more I find reasons to not to do things than to do things. And I believe that thinking is a disease and intellect is nothing more than a cancer because a thinking man, a man who can think, the man who has an intellect, can justify any evil in the world. He can justify dictatorship. He can justify the massacre that is happening in Gaza. He can justify the dictatorship that is happening in North Korea or the war on Iran, the human trafficking, anything, any ideology, any evil events that is happening in the world can be justified with intellect. And they say that empty mind is the devil's workshop. It is totally wrong. We have been lied with this thought. Empty mind is the God's workshop. Only when we are thoughtless do we achieve Buddhahood. That's what Lord Buddha said. When we are free of all the thoughts, that's when our mind becomes present. That's when mindfulness is achieved. That's the whole point of being mindful, to be free of thoughts. That's why they meditate. That's why the saints meditate. And the highest form of intelligence is not IQ or EQ, it's metacognition, as said by Richard Feynman. He said, when we observe how we think, that's when we become truly intelligent. That's the holy grail of thinking. That's where we have to arrive, not just scoring marks in a marks card and achieving good numbers in emotional intelligence tests. And what's the way out of this? The one is metacognition that I just said, and second one, there's a technique called Vipassana, as introduced by Buddha. And in that technique, they say that all the good qualities of a human being, all the good qualities that one can attain in a lifetime, should become instincts instead of the products of intelligence. For example, when you see somebody suffering on the nearby street, it should not be that you have to think and then take a choice and then make a choice whether to help them or not. It should be like the very instinct that you feel the moment you see the person who is suffering, you have to go out there and help them. This is how you build instincts. And how to build these instincts? By the method called Vipassana, as I said. And this technique has been followed through generations, and the only message that Buddha left to his followers and to be followed all the way down through generations was to follow his technique and go on experimenting with it. And one place to do that is, there are many Vipassana uh, centers around the world where you can go and join and be part of 10-day course, 30-day course, and then try to feel what it means to attain the instinct to feel all the good human qualities innately. And we say that there is no good and evil in the world. That's true. In terms of actions, when we do something, when we see something, or when we hear something, it is not innately good or bad. It becomes good or bad only when we think about it. Only when we label that action or a sound or a sight as good and bad does it become good and bad. Otherwise, there is no good and bad in the world. That's what they mean by there is no good and bad. It's just our projection into the world. And the way you see the world is not the truth, not the absolute truth. Because every brain is more than being a thinking machine, it's a filtering machine. It filters the reality based on how you are, not based on how the events are happening. And Immanuel Kant says this as Noumena and the phenomena. Noumena is the real truth there is, which can't be accessible by any human being on earth. What is accessible by anybody on earth is phenomena that we see, that we experience, and that we interpret or express. So, is there an absolute truth in the world? Yes, there might be. But can we access that absolute truth? I doubt it so, unless we attain Buddhahood. And once we realize all of these things about thinking, about spirituality, about good and bad, we realize that everything in the world is just connected innately in a way that we don't even realize. Our human perception is very, very, very limited. The light that we see around is just part of the spectrum, and the sounds that we hear is just part of the sound, part of the frequency. If we are still a frog in a well, we haven't been out of the well yet. No matter how advanced we get with artificial intelligence, no matter how fast we get with these communication devices and these transportation vehicles that take us from one place to another, no matter what happens, we are still the frog in the well. We will remain as a frog in a well. And I believe that if we have to go beyond this, the materialism will not help, and the way out of this is through spirituality and religion. And religion, I don't mean to say the organized religion, I mean to say the religion that is that helps us transcend beyond human consciousness. And we still can't define what consciousness is, so we are again limited by what we know about consciousness itself. So if we are limited by the understanding of the part that helps us understand the world, then how can we understand the world itself? Currently, I am reading this book called The Iliad by Homer, the book that set fire and that gave spark to the Greek Revolution and the Greek civilization. And there I realized that poetry is a form of art that can transcend us in a way that we have never imagined before. There are many ways to get transcended. One of them is meditation, as I said, and I believe that poetry is a way to think beyond and to experience beyond this world. And getting inspired by that book, I wrote this tiny poem about thinking. It goes by: thinking of writing, to justify my thinking of thinking. And thinking is thinking of writing about thinking, to end up in a garbage with words no meaning. Thank you.